Hi, and thanks for tuning into this episode of Coach Etch Tips. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than my typical guest. Just a quick little bit about her. Her name's Taylor Hohmann, and I'll let her describe what she does when you get introduced to her and the show starts here. But I heard her in a Take Over the Fitness Center Instagram story thing one day. She works at a fitness center that my son is the manager of and runs. And I just really connected with some of her story. And I think you'll find this a unique story about wanting to give back and make a difference with teens that may be faced with choices and decisions from the standpoint of using chemicals, alcohol, or drugs. And I think as educators working with teenage students, it's something that we need to understand what kind of happens on the inside of kids and maybe be a little bit more aware to help them and sense what's going on in their life and possibly directions you can turn them. So I hope you enjoy hearing from Taylor today. She's an outstanding young lady and really has a tremendous story that I think you'll be touched by when you listen to it, just like I was when I first heard it. Thank you. All right, thanks, folks, for tuning into this episode of Coach Etch Tips. I am here with Taylor Hohmann. Did I say your last name right, Taylor?
Yes.
All right, great. And really excited. I don't really know Taylor personally, but I saw her on a trainer taking over the gym, I think Instagram story one day and stuff. And she works in a F45 fitness boutique gym with my son. And I really got kind of attracted to what she had to say because of her career and her passion. And besides just being a fitness and health nut, what she's doing for adolescents and teenagers. So I reached out and connected and want to bring her on the show today. And so, Taylor, why don't you share a little bit of your background with us, what it is you actually do right now and kind of career wise?
Yeah, sure. So I am currently the community engagement manager for Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge. More specifically, I work on the prevention side of things. So my department goes into high schools and middle schools across the state of Minnesota and talks to students about the risks of using and abusing drugs and alcohol. And we kind of do it in a way that is more so in a peer-to-peer approach. We're not going into the classrooms telling students what to do. We're more so there telling students about the choices we made and where those choices led us, because all of our presentations are led by people who are in recovery themselves and have made some bad choices along the way. And so we're just there to have a conversation with the students and in hopes that they don't make the same choices that we made. So I'm also a coordinator for a drug-free communities coalition in Ramsey County called the Ramsey County Opus Coalition. And that's just another part of my job. Our main goals are reducing youth substance use and increasing community collaboration. So all in kind of the substance use prevention field.
And you do a little part-time training, right?
I do, yep. So I'm a part-time personal trainer at F45, like you said. It is my passion. I love helping people in that realm. I really love the strength side of things. So not so much like cardio, but I'm really into weightlifting. I've been a bodybuilder. I've competed in a few shows myself. And I just look at working out as kind of my outlet. So it's kind of like you said with your son, it's his passion, then also his career. So I get
Yeah,
to do both.
that's cool. And I always kind of one big thing when I talk with people and you work with adolescents and kind of is that why? What kind of brought you here? If you want, as much as you want to be open to share about your life story, I saw a little bit on your Instagram story and stuff, but we all have a reason and kind of, I think I ended up in education because it kind of ended up being my calling to end up working with kids and coaching and stuff because I originally wanted to be a doctor, then a lawyer, and finally my junior year in college, it's just like, it hit me. This isn't really what I want to do. I want to make a difference for kids and stuff. So what kind of brought you to where you're at today?
Yeah. If you would have asked me when I was a kid to tell you what my job would be when I was 30 years old, I could never have told you. Um, to give a little bit of a background, my parents divorced when I was 7, and then my mom remarried a year later. And from that divorce, I kind of took on this like rejection, abandonment kind of thing. I just wanted attention, and I struggled with that. And so I started seeking acceptance outside of the home, from friends, boys. So when I was 15 years old, I actually said yes to alcohol for the first time. And it was because the boys I was hanging out with, I wanted them to like me and accept me and think I was cool. And that kind of opened up the door for me. And after that, in high school, when the alcohol was available at parties and stuff like that, I said yes because I wanted that feeling. I wanted to feel accepted or whatever it was in my mind that I thought, was fine, like giving me that. And fast forward through the years, I graduated high school with honors, went on to college. Things looked great in my life, but I started drinking more and more, and it started turning into more of a problem for me. And so I ended up in some legal trouble, and life wasn't looking too great. I was lucky enough to go into the long-term program at Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge, where I started to find my identity. I started to work through a lot of the abandonment issues that I had, depression, anxiety, all of the things. And through recovery, I was able to become an intern for Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge upon my graduation. And so my whole goal was to help just one student not make the same choices that I made when I was in school. And so I went into high schools and middle schools for 8 months, sharing my personal story and just being raw and real. And from there, my career has just kind of grown. Like I said, I was an intern for 8 months, and then I got hired in our outreach department. And then I worked in marketing for a couple of years, and now I'm back to the prevention side of things as a manager. So it's been quite a journey, but I'd say my why and my passion is I just don't want kids to have to go down the same path that I did, because that legal trouble and the pain, the hurt relationships, the injured relationships in my life, it all can be avoided if you just make some better choices. So.
Yeah, and one of my big things in understanding adolescent behavior and teenagers and stuff is that, we don't know what we don't know. And like you mentioned, how your perceptions of what you had to do to fit in at age 15 and stuff with some different people. And I think the old golden rule used to be treat others as you like to be treated. But you don't really know where others are coming from. What is it in their thought process that if you're working with an 8th, 9th, or 10th grader, what has transpired up to that point in life, and to think that they would respond to a situation the same as you would based on your knowledge. And I think it's neat that you will probably had an ability to connect with kids kind of in a different way, because you knew that even though everything can look great on the outside and looking at you and you're doing good in class, but there's still that part on the inside. And I think you mentioned in the phone when we talked that one day that you were kind of amazed what would kind of come out of kids' mouths sometimes. You just never knew when you were in there walking and talking to them what they would all of a sudden blurt out. And is there, when you were doing that 8 months and stuff and in face to face with kids, what were some of the shocking, surprising things that kind of helped mold you in learning more how to play a role and making a difference in their lives? Is there anything you can still think of off the top of your head kind of there that transpired? And
Yeah, honestly, I think what really resonates with students and just like got them to open up and be more receptive is just the rawness and the realness that I came to the classroom with. I was there, I spilled all of my dirty laundry. I'm here just to share with you guys and be real. And I think that they really appreciated that. And as a result of that, it kind of gave students permission to share themselves. It gave them the permission to open up. I had students come to me after class and tell me that they're struggling with self-harm. I've had students come to me after class and tell me, what do I do? My stepdad drinks a lot at home. I don't know how to cope with it. You know what I mean? My brother is vaping. My brother is smoking marijuana. What should I do? And again, that me opening up the door and saying, I've been there, I've done this, this is what happened to me, kind of gave the students same kind of
I
openness.
think is there, because a lot of time adolescent kids are going through that growth area from being a child to becoming a young adult and trying to assert their own personal parts. And I know lots of times kids don't feel like their voice is heard, and they really want to have it heard. And sometimes there's this part on the inside just screaming out. They don't know how to bring it out. But is there anything in particular that you did then, or your people that go into schools do now, to allow the kids to be authentic, and then to allow that they're going to be vulnerable, to let the kids speak out, to let their voice be heard, to hear that story? Because I think sometimes we can get such tunnel vision and just going ahead, telling people to not create the opportunity to say, okay, I want to listen to you for a while.
Yeah. I think another unique thing about the way that our presenters give their stories is we look at the underlying issues and the reasons why we started using to begin with. For me, it was that rejection, that abandonment, wanting to fit in. For other presenters, it's home life wasn't great. It was really, really tough. They want, one of our presenters right now, he was actually born in prison. His mom was addicted herself, and so he grew up in a family that was constantly around drugs and alcohol, and so that's all he knew. And so if when the presenter is in the school talking about why they started, and then there's plenty of students in the classroom, at least one or two of them is going to be able to relate to the various stories, and then the student starts looking at their own underlying issues and the reasons that would maybe lead them to use, and then hopefully they're just thinking about it and try not to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Don't make the choice to use just because of those underlying issues. Talk to a teacher, talk to a social worker, a coach, your parents, before things get worse.
Yeah,
So
I think that education part is so good, especially for adolescent kids, having myself spent a number of years working with them, is that has this little formula, E plus R equals O. Event is stuff happens. O is the outcome you want in a math equation, but how do you respond? And basically,
yeah,
the response is based on what your knowledge is, what you know of
yep,
stuff. Quite often, teenagers, they don't even think about it. They just respond. They act.
yeah, yeah,
And as adults, sometimes we assume that they know certain things. And I know a lot of people, I was shocked because, as I told you, I was a health teacher before, finding out how early kids are using alcohol and drugs and stuff. And maybe you can educate our audience a little bit about what your company has found out about. We think, well, yeah, maybe they're teenagers are going to college, but how early are you finding out that the kids are getting involved in taking drugs, using alcohol, and some of the stuff that teachers may not know that this is what's happening at such a young age because we just haven't been told it.
yeah,
Here's
yeah.
some of that your information and knowledge you have in that area.
Yeah, I mean, we present to 6th through 12th grade. So we go as low as 6th graders. And of course we tailor the presentation. Like, we're not talking about like heroin in those presentations, but we are talking about tobacco and marijuana. And you would be surprised. There are 13, 14-year-olds who have tried marijuana and have vaped, and they're learning about it because of the older sibling or the older cousin that is using or is experimenting, and they just happen to be around. And that's kind of how it happens, or those are the stories that I've heard over the years. But I think that prevention, starting at an early age, talking about it often, is another key factor. Like, when I was in school, when I was growing up, I think we had health in 7th grade. We went over the whole drug unit, and then maybe I don't even know if we went over it again in high school. But it's a conversation that needs to be had more than once through the years, because students aren't going to remember everything they learned in 7th grade health. And that's a big key part that I think that even parents can have the conversation often, bring it up, talk to your kid about substances, know who their friends are, know what their friends are doing. Yeah.
Well,
I
so
don't
much
know
of
if
it is that the biggest thing in adolescence life is usually their social circle, their
Mhm.
peers and stuff. And it's kind of like you said a little bit in your story, it's kind of doing what you thought you had to do to fit in or depressed because whether it's a guy or a girl as a teenager, the most important thing in the world can be that person that they're attracted to and the connections that what they think they may have to do. And
Yep.
sometimes they respect more what that person wants them to do rather than respecting themselves. And I think
Yep.
it's as a phy ed teacher, I said, once you respect your own body and take care of your own body, everything in life changes for you because you
Right.
got to start with yourself first.
Right.
And I'm going to guess that probably at some point in time, some of it might have been your own self-revelation, looking in a mirror, or maybe somebody else. Is there somebody out there, maybe was a teacher in school or in college or counselor or something you came to that really impacted your life and really kind of helped you make that change in direction? Because we all have that time in life. You just never know when smiling and saying hi to somebody in the Starbucks line might change their day and they go, God, somebody noticed me and they were maybe thinking of doing something bad, you know. Is there
Yeah.
something like that, one or two people that in your life kind of stick out?
Yeah, no, I mean, high school was really, really rough for me. I had it all figured out on the outside. I made it look like everything was all put together, being a cheerleader. And but I mean, I struggled with bullying. There were times I went to the school social worker or my counselor at school, and I inform her of the information that was going on, and all I did was got to go home for the day. And nothing really ever like happened, and maybe that was just a problem in my school system, or there wasn't enough education for our school counselors, or that maybe their workload was just so big. But no, I didn't really have any moments like that up until I was in the long-term program at Teen Challenge. Faith played a huge role for me, learning my identity in my savior really helped me too. So yeah, I'd say that that's when the big change happened, the counseling at Teen Challenge, and then my faith.
Well, that's great because for a lot of people, that is a great foundation spot. And I think that
Yeah,
can be a life-changing thing for
yeah,
people and stuff. But we're all mentors. I mean, as what you do, even though it's not direct with the kids anymore, you're really serving and making a difference for all of them. And I'm sure at times, just you see people in such bad spots in their life trying to get them out of that. And that can kind of weigh emotionally on you at times and stuff. And there's some things that you do from a mindfulness standpoint to just help you. I mean, you have a job that's a very serving job, and I'm sure there's times you can get great satisfaction out of it, but then you got to have your personal life. And like you said, you're working out, fitness is one of your outlet things, but how do you balance that work in personal life to kind of be able to separate it so you're not carrying baggage with you all the time and you can handle the stresses, the ups and downs of everyday life?
yeah. That's a really good question. I do. Take a lot of time for self care. I'm an introvert, so I'm the type that recharges by being alone. So I make sure that I get plenty of alone time when I need it to recharge. But it's kind of funny that I am an introvert because of being a coach too. You have to be super extroverted at the gym. So of course I always need to unwind when I'm done coaching as well. But that self care piece is really important. And then the gym truly is my outlet. And then spending time with self-help books, or books that help me to meditate, or think, devotional books that um, have me looking inside and at myself, and striving to be the best version of myself every day.
Yeah, that's that self-reflection I've found through my research and reading and stuff, similar stuff. It just that's a hard thing for people to do at times. And
Mhm.
that if you really want to move forward and have peace of mind and have life working, you got to be able to self-reflect with yourself honestly. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's not always easy.
Yep. And
But
that kind of leads me, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
no,
That
that's
kind of leads
okay.
me to another thing that, like, through treatment and through Teen Challenge, like, the one of the biggest things that you go through is you have to face yourself. You have to face yourself when you were in your mess,
Yeah.
and you have to dig up all of the stuff that because it wasn't just one instance. It was a lot of things over a course of many years that you stuffed down, and that you didn't face head on. And when you're in treatment, you're forced to, like, look at a lot of those things. There was a practice or an activity that we did. It was 3 pivotal people, 7 defining moments, and 5. I'm blanking on what it is, but we literally had to identify these moments in our lives that were super impactful, that maybe hurt us, that caused us, that molded us in a certain way, and to kind of, like, acknowledge that they happened, and then work through them so that we can finally let them go and just, like, move on in life. And I think that that's a really big thing that people, I mean, everybody could do in life. You know what I mean? We've all had
Yeah.
big moments in life that maybe we're not even aware that we've stuffed down, or just, like, wanted to get past, just so we didn't have to feel pain anymore. But hitting those things head on and facing them and working through them is really helpful to be a healthy person, I think. So
Oh, without a doubt. So I could talk all day long this stuff.
yeah.
My ed teacher, kind of what you're doing, it's kind of the same passion to make a difference in people's lives. And I know over the years through my experience, I've had teaching health, especially, you just never would know what would come out of kids' mouths once they had a chance to be heard and to hear their voice and tell their story. And too often as adults, we can just get going in our own life and forget to let kids tell their story. And I think that's kind of what the whole central thing is with my Coach Etch tips here, is to hear from different people that impact kids' lives in a positive way to help them move forward. And you just never know what's going to hit you on a different day or a different time or a different year, whether it's a negative experience in life that changes your life or a positive experience that changes your life. Because I think, like you said, finding your faith is a positive experience to help change your life, as opposed to being in the gutter and dealing with rotten things to change your life. But
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming on, Taylor. And one thing I don't forget is, if you can, like, your contact information for Minnesota Adult Teen Challenge. So if somebody is listening on this today and in the Twin Cities, Minnesota area, wants to get plugged in or has any questions on this, they can contact your office, whether it's you or directions to go. And I'll put that in the description part of the video and stuff. They'll end up being on the channel on YouTube. And I want to thank you so much for what you do, because I know, having spent 39 years of my life around teenagers, basically in the middle school and high school age, they need programs like this. They need people, because there's a lot of kids that are just screaming for help and they don't know how to go get it because they've come from tough situations. So thank you so much for doing. I don't know if I'll be around, but I'm looking forward to hearing what happens in your life going forward, because I know you're going to be a person of impact and making a difference for people. I know in the gym, I haven't been around too much since COVID hit, but that's what attracted Jared. Just getting around, helping people, cheering them on as a trainer and a coach, doing that stuff. It's an awesome experience. And you impact people there every day doing that type of stuff for people in that way too. And it's that satisfaction that you get back. And thanks for doing that too, because it's an important part in life.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, folks. Thanks for tuning in today. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to put them in the discussion part underneath the video. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, and please share this information if you know somebody in need or needs some help. What Taylor's doing with the Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge Group, it's an important thing out there, and we really want to make a difference and impact people's lives in any positive way we can. So thanks again, Taylor, for tuning in. Folks, we'll see you next time. I'll have a little wrap up here, kind of a little closure on some of the key points that Taylor hit today. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next show. Wow, what an awesome show. I hope you enjoyed Taylor as much as I did. And I don't have a whole lot to wrap up with this here, but really what I thought, one of the things when she talked about, it was kind of an exercise she went through when she was going through her counseling and recovery. And she talked about really kind of looking yourself in the mirror and looking back at those times in life that impacted you the most, the ability to have self-reflection. And whether it's as just a person growing individually, whether it's working with our students, whether it's taking care of ourselves as a teacher and trying to improve all the time, that self-reflection part is such a great tool, and to really understand and teach you some sense of gratitude, to go back and face those situations and those people that may have been impactful, whether it's a positive thing or a negative thing in your life. So I thought that was really a unique exercise that she shared there at the end. And for those of you that happen to live in the Minnesota Twin Cities area, all of her contact information, if you're looking for assistance in these areas from the Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge, you can find that out and there and connect with Taylor. If you want somebody to come into your classrooms or schools and speak to them. If you're in another part of the country, I'm sure you've got something similar in your area, because I know, having spent a long time in my career as a health teacher, those kids somewhere between 10 and 12, their core value systems for making the decisions that they make in life are already kind of there. They may not know what they're going to be faced with, but when we make choices and decisions, they're kind of based on what we believe and who we are. And I think it's really important to be able to touch base with those kids at a young age to help prepare them to practice and understand situations, and to be able to be strong and stick up for themselves and believe in themselves. And so I wanted to share that episode with Taylor, kind of from another avenue of a way that you can find a way to connect with teens and to help them grow into happy and successful adults. So look forward to seeing you down in the next episode of Coach Etch Tips.